I'm
ready?
I'm born ready. All right.
Jesus, no.
We did the whole thing about porn. I was confused as to what.
No, we can't do these videos pantsless.
No one's ever gonna know.
I will know, and that is enough.
Prude. Hey, we're two fat guys.
And we just watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, part of our Associated Productions for the Disney Marathon. We decided to give this movie its own video.
Because how could we not? I mean,
we could not.
It's not allowed. Legally, I mean, we're pushing already with Disney legally, so we had to be careful.
I mean, I guess really this is Associated Productions in the 1980s.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's fair. It's really a love letter to animation and also to classic Hollywood, which are great sort of things that Disney is part of. So it's great. It's a great study in this marathon specifically, but also just in general. If you like good things and happiness and joy and good,
And Bob Hoskins.
Yeah. Oh.
Holy crap. Stellar performance from Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Just this side of Super Mario.
Never say that right.
Yeah. Just shy. It's like just above Brazil, but just below Super Mario Brothers. So, no. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is?
It's a noir film.
It is a
for
noir
one,
film.
Which you don't see a whole lot of.
No, but it's the only one the marathon
from the 70s on.
Yeah.
Not a genre seen much in recent Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a throwback to that era.
Mm-hmm.
But also wacky.
Yeah.
Intentionally so. With the tunes that just were part of the world. Which is a fun and interesting take.
It's a great concept. Like it's a great concept. It's great execution. It succeeds on every level.
Yeah, it treats that cartoons are actually like those are characters and they're filmed like
they're actors. They are just like a different species and they work on different rules, and so that's just how the world is.
Yeah. So then you get weird thematic topics like racism, but in a wacky way that you usually see in sci-fi.
Yeah, you can do a sort of story of it's sort of a setup of the classic silent film actors being put out of business by the talkies, and Betty Boop being out of business because of color.
That was a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no one really likes the black and whites anymore. And you're like, oh, Betty Boop.
Oh God, she doesn't work. Someone give her a job, goddammit.
She has a job. She's a waitress.
That's not a good job for Betty Boop. She's better than that.
No, acting in Hollywood is...
I just want to say what a joy it is for me to see on frame at the same time, first Daffy Duck and Donald Duck.
Yes, having a piano bar duel.
Which is hilarious. And then also Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny just casually having a conversation.
While falling
it's
from
insane.
A building
it's
with
insane.
Bob Hoskins.
It'd be like Henry Cavill showing up as Superman, just hanging out with Chris Evans' Captain America, and then just talking. It is that level of big iconic characters just together
in their prime too. I mean, this is prime, but
they're very famous. It's not like they had been gone for years. They're still they're internationally famous still, and the studios agreed. Now Marvel can't get Fox to agree to let them say the word mutant, but back then Warner Bros. And Disney were both sure, yeah, let's put our characters in. That's great. That sounds like a great story. Sure, everyone, here you go.
Okay.
Use our characters. It'd be great. Side by side, work together. You just don't see that in Hollywood now, and Betty Boop.
I wonder how much of that was just reading the script, or looking at that, and
how much was money?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Money changed hands.
Money changed hands, but I'm sure. I wonder how much it was. But for something like that, you won't. If you're Disney or Warner Brothers, even if you're hurting for money, you don't need that one movie's worth of money to stay in business, and they don't want to devalue their characters by putting it into a shitty product.
Yes.
So I'm wondering how much of that was just looking at the script and going, oh, well, this is delightful.
Mm-hmm.
And does nothing to hurt the brand, but it still kind of gives it awareness, and also is a love letter to animation in a lot of ways. That and Tex Avery is definitely represented.
That's when I noticed that main character Roger Rabbit is main character asterisk. The title character Roger Rabbit is sort of a hybrid of the Disney and the Warner Brothers style. There are parts of him and aspects of the way he performs. Okay, that's kind of more Disney character animation. But then he also does some more of the exaggerated stretching and ridiculous moments of sort of a Warner Brothers Tex Avery character. And he doesn't really live in just one. So it's sort of a nice cutting down the middle, which is just some great work by the animators to
yes,
sort of
and something that you would want for a major project like this. You wouldn't want it to skew too much.
It's like, it's another Mickey Mouse. It's a different,
Yeah, I mean, he's
Bugs
certainly
Bunny.
his own character, but takes a lot from these giants.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to talk before I forget. One of my favorite moments of his is when he, after he's been handcuffed for a long time, and then he gets out, and he just takes his hand out to move it, and then Bob Hoskins is like, "You could have done that at any point," and he's like, "No, only when it was funny."
Like that's how it works.
And it was such honestly, like, no, like that he can't. That's just how he functions.
Mm-hmm.
Just not only as a character, but like Toons as an entity.
Yes.
Was really a stellar moment. I thought just a great joke.
It's a great decision, like as in terms of motivation of Toons, and also it was a well delivered joke and it informed a lot of the story. Man, this thing is just full of all the references, especially for having just watched all this Disney animation.
Absolutely. The Reluctant Dragon.
The Reluctant Dragon's in the crowd scene. Yeah, the crowd scene's just chock full of stuff like there are trees from early Disney shorts that you wouldn't have seen, and like the Warner Brothers shorts and things. And it's just my favorite one that I don't think I caught until this time. Which I don't know why, it's not like it's hidden that well. They had the brooms from Fantasia sweeping up the lot when he first leaves the office. And there's just this man playing a sax, like a street performer playing a saxophone, and just along with him. And he's playing the Sorcerer's Apprentice song on a saxophone. Like, he's just playing a swinging version of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And I'm just like, oh shit, that's amazing. And the brooms are in there like, yeah.
This movie it's incredibly delightful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I love it played against the noir feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bob Hoskins' character is trying so hard
to be a noir hero, like
to
in
be
the
a
darkest
hero,
noir.
and then he's just like gruff and so serious. He's a sourpuss, they even say.
Yeah,
like,
and just
he's so serious, and just all this random nonsense is happening all around.
He's surrounded by like the most colorful setting you can imagine, and he's trying to be a black and white noir hero.
Yeah, so this I talked a little bit about when we were talking about Pete's Dragon. I thought this movie succeeded really well in two major areas, and that is putting characters like Jessica Rabbit and Roger Rabbit in the real world, and having them exist in that very well, and also having Bob Hoskins exist very well in Toontown.
Yes.
Which are very, very different things that we've seen in the past. You know, both of those things we've seen Disney Associated Productions do before. But in the same movie like this is...
but now they have they have more experience, and also this is Bob Zemeckis, right? Was the director of this?
That wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know for sure.
I believe Zemeckis, but still, it's a accomplished filmmaker beyond just the animation. So basically, bringing like, okay, this person makes films; they know how films work, and then
absolutely.
we know how animation works, and it was just sort of a great marriage of those things. And yeah, so I'm not surprised it worked. You know, they have more years experience and more steady hand at the helm, and yeah, it's great. I never questioned Roger interacting with the environment. I never questioned, because there's a lot of close interaction between him and Bob in terms of Eddie Valiant is the character name.
Yeah, so and that's it. Like, it's not perfect.
No.
But you know, especially this movie, you know, came out a year after I was born. Like, this is late '80s. It still holds up though.
Yes.
Unlike something like Pete's Dragon, where you can kind of see through it a lot.
You can kind of feel it wearing.
But this it really, I don't know if it's just the style of the movie or the technology, but it really sinks in. Like you buy into this world a lot better.
I do want to say there's also a chance that nostalgia could be increasing this one a lot for us, because this is
not for me.
Not for you?
So I saw this movie for this marathon, and I saw it about 2 years ago. And before that, I did not see it since I was a kid, because it scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. Like, this was a horror movie to me when I was a kid. And it was specifically The scene at the end.
Oh, really? Christopher Lloyd getting crushed by a steamroller and...
Not that.
The
it's
eyes?
Christopher Lloyd standing up from being crushed by a steamroller.
Yeah, the skinny... Yeah.
And when he's been flattened out, and so now it doesn't look like a cartoon yet.
Uh-huh.
It is a real man, but all bent, and he's just moving so unnaturally. And watching it, now that I'm an adult, it didn't... I mean... Now, as an adult, it's when he's like bug-eyed and crazy voice that is kind of unsettling. But as a kid, him standing up and moving unnaturally like that, that's what I remember. I remember that vividly, and it scared the crap out of me. So I never, I watched it like once as a kid and was like, nope, never again. And so because of that, I'd forgotten a lot of other parts in this movie. Like I don't remember. Even watching it 2 years ago, I was like, this is all new to me. And still I still thought that Jessica Rabbit was a rabbit. Like,
wow.
Well, I mean, like, until I see it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry, I made the same mistake that the character did. She's called Jessica Rabbit.
That's her... She married. Come on.
Well, I get it now. he's like, oh, this fuss for a rabbit? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not nostalgia from my end.
That's fair. I mean, I do have a fair amount of nostalgia for it, but like sort of the Disney Renaissance films, I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just a really good movie. Like, yeah, I have tons of nostalgia for it, and it was very important in my childhood, but that doesn't make it not good.
No, yeah,
like, just because there's the potential for me to overvalue it doesn't mean I am overvaluing it. It's a very good movie.
Christopher Lloyd.
Also when I think about, like, this is not what we're talking, it's not the point of the marathon, but when I think about sort of the breadth of roles I've seen Christopher Lloyd play.
First off, it's not enough.
It's not enough. He should be in every movie at all times.
Yes.
But just because it's not always the same guy. Like he's generally.
This is not Doc Brown.
It's not Doc Brown. It's also not his
Professor
character
Plum
from Taxi. It's not Professor Plum. It's not Fester.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for an actor who, as much as I love all of these things that he's done, and still like if someone mentions Christopher Lloyd, I think of Doc Brown. Mm-hmm. Like he can do way more than that.
Mm-hmm. Camp Nowhere.
Oh my god, that movie's so good. Let's watch that marathon.
The Camp Nowhere marathon?
Yes.
We just watched it for like a week on the
Yes.
Alright, but Who Framed Roger Rabbit? That great writing. The story moves very well. It's very noir in its structure. Like
because it's like a long version of a police procedural, just like this leading to this, leading to
like
this.
The only thing that would have made it more classic is if it had Eddie Valiant at the end, like doing a voiceover of it. Like if they started like towards the end with him like shot in Toontown or something, laying on the road, like I don't think I'm gonna make it, and he's like writing down his tale, and then like he comes back to it and he gets rescued by the taxi or something. That's about the only thing that could have made it any more noir in its structure is that they did that. But it's great. It's I mean, there's no overarching plot, and like it's basically solving this mystery. It's like all right. Because basically at the end of the first act, there is a crime for which Roger Rabbit is framed.
What?
Who did it? No one knows. It's a mystery.
Huh.
Get the Hardley Boys on the case.
The Hardley Boys?
It's from South Park.
Hardley Boys.
It's South Park.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah. They do a Hardy Boys parody called the Hardley Boys.
Well, that's delightful.
Yes, it's very funny. So it's great because as a viewer, it's the best sort of structure for me. Well, also because it was cartoons. Like, while I enjoy noir, I'm not like, yeah, noir is the best way to go. This was great because I'm like, oh man, it's a mystery. So basically, they go from one clue to the next. Like, okay, they're on the lamp, so they're hiding, and then they get this clue and they investigate it, and that leads them to this, and then they have to go here, and then he goes missing, so he goes after him, and it's just hit after hit after hit after hit. It's never like, all right,
constantly moving.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of subplot happening in this film. I mean, there's the subplots. You can see the character arc. Like, okay, Eddie Valiant's story.
Yes, and the brother and all that.
Yeah, I guess you consider that a subplot, but it's not a subplot. Like, okay, we don't have like, oh, the waitress needs to like pay the rent for Eddie. Like, oh no, she has to make this appointment on time. Like, there's nothing like that running on. We don't go away from the story of Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Eddie investigating this. So while there is stuff that develops those characters, we never leave that plot, which is just super refreshing. Coming out of the earlier films of the marathon.
I'm going to hijack this video for a bit.
You're a madman.
Because we're only talking about this, and I don't care. And like our other videos where we just talk about one movie.
We're always on point.
Because this is a movie with Christopher Lloyd in it, I want to mention a video game. I don't know if you ever played it. In the late 90s, a video game called Toonstruck. Have you heard of it? No. It was a point-and-click adventure game starring Christopher Lloyd. Full motion video, Christopher Lloyd was your character, who is an animator who gets sucked into the world of his creation.
Awesome.
So you are moving full motion video Christopher Lloyd around the screen that's animated.
Nice.
And he's interacting with all these animated things. And then, like, slowly towards the end, the longer he spends in here, the more he becomes a toon. And, like, rewatching this movie, or watching it again, it reminded me a lot of that in a great way. So if you get the chance, play the game Toonstruck, especially if you're a fan of, like, old school point-and-click adventures, where you've got a bottomless bag as your inventory, and they can have that because it's Toon World, and it is delightful.
I'm going to hijack this for a slightly shorter time
Great.
and talk about a point-and-click adventure I played as a kid called Deja Vu. It was basically you were a noir character.
I'm already intrigued.
You were a noir character, like you're a grizzled old detective, and you wake up and you don't remember what happened, and so you have to like piece together what happened in this crime. And I was always terrible at it. Like we rented it from the video store because people rented video games back then, and like I was too young to be playing this game, and I would just constantly get killed. Like if you take too long, you don't do something. Like this woman walks up to you on the street and just shoots you, and like you're dead. Like start over, and then I'm back in this fucking hotel room where I wake up and don't have a memory. I'm like, God damn it.
Oh yeah,
So
the X-Files game and the Men in Black game, I remember as a kid, I really loved the games because I liked those products, but I was not a good enough video game player yet. I was still too young and just constantly died.
Yeah, so I feel like I've never solved the puzzle. I need to like find a ROM of it and play it so I can find out what the answer to the mystery is.
I'm intrigued already. I'm gonna have to.
I'm just gonna watch a Let's Play instead of doing actual work. Let's watch a Let's Play.
That's a good point. Oh, I bet they have Toonstruck videos online.
Oh, they probably have like a speed run of it. Thank God we live in the future. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I did write down my closing and closing I had. The only closing note that I had for the video on Who Framed Roger Rabbit was that it's the spirit of the marathon as a whole. Like, we're doing this because we love Disney, we're celebrating Disney, and that's really what it is. This is celebrating filmmaking and Hollywood and Disney, and it's just pure joy. Like, even though it's horrifying and scarred poor young Sam for life, it is just a film of just pure joy. It's you can tell the people who made it. It doesn't seem like they all enjoyed making this movie.
Yes, there are three movies that I think that are really about all of that in the same way, and we'll talk about the other ones later. But it's that, Enchanted, and Princess and the Frog.
Yes, in different ways.
In different ways, all pay homage to the Disney, like what we're doing as a whole. But yeah, that is very accurate with this movie.
Yeah. You have any other thoughts on this one? Yeah.
No, it's Toonstruck. Check it out.
Yeah, Deja Vu. Email me the ending. 2fatguys@gmail.com. Just let me know what happens.
2fatguysshow@gmail.com.
I don't watch this. No one's gonna play Deja Vu unless Clayton does, and Clayton's like, I'm gonna show him. But we're two fat guys.
And sorry for wasting your time. Don't even know our email address.
I'm surprised we have one. Like when I started talking, I was like, oh God, do we have an email address? Just keep talking.
We do, because we need one for the YouTube account.
I figured, like, my brain's like, yeah, just say Gmail at the end of it and it should work. I'm like, all right. But at that point, like, I was talking the whole time, so while that very slow conversation was happening, I forgot that show is on it.
Yes.